the racial consciousness has worked to give a picture of the future state of man and the disciplines and the way of life he has to follow to reach that state. Even a cursory look at the scriptures will clear this point. Christ refers to the kingdom of God lying in us, which we can achieve by living a righteous life. Krishna refers to the vision of the cosmic form or the final state of yoga to which we can attain by following certain principles of life. Buddha refers to his eightfold path to achieve realization of oneself or nirvana. And Muhammad also refers to the straight path, Rahe Mustaqim, the straight path by which one could reach Allah or God. So you see, in all the religions of mankind, there is a target where man has to reach an ideal of God or Allah or Jehovah or Nirvana or Brahman, and also the way of life to be followed and the disciplines to be undertaken by which it can be attained. Yoga is also one of these disciplines. Meditation is also one of these disciplines. All these disciplines have been revealed by mystics, prophets and spiritual teachers under inspiration to guide other fellow human beings on the path, to show them the way which they themselves traversed to reach divinity. From this point of view, when we practice yoga or meditation or any other form of religious discipline, we are trying to accelerate our evolution. We are trying to activate the region in the brain in order to reach higher levels of perception. When we reach those higher levels of perception, then we can perceive or intuitively grasp the divinity behind this universe. So the purpose of meditation or yoga or any other spiritual discipline is to reach a transcendental state of awareness in which the hidden reality of the universe becomes perceptible to us.
We hear so much about meditation, and there are so many ideas about it. What is meditation?
Meditation is concentration. Meditation is the application of the mind on the divine. Normally we apply our mind to the solution of worldly problems. We apply it to study, we apply it to get a degree, we apply it in our business, we apply it in our writings, we apply it in mathematics, astronomy, science. We apply concentration in all branches of knowledge. In fact, it is concentration and application of the mind that has given us all the knowledge we possessed. Even in olden times, people who were interested in astronomy would sit flat on the grass, gazing at the sky and concentrating their attention on it to know the movements of the stars. All knowledge is the result of the application of our mind. When we apply the same mind on divinity, that is, on transcendental realities, on something which is not visible to us in the normal way, then we activate the center already provided by nature for the purpose. By constant application, by constant concentration, by constant meditation on divinity and transcendental realities, we are stimulating the center. And suddenly one day they can bear fruit and the center can be activated. The purpose of meditation is to activate this dormant center in the brain. There is no magic in it. It is wrong to say that when you meditate, you will reach God all of a sudden. You will take a leap. How? When everything we do, think or act comes from the brain, how can we take a sudden leap and reach God leaving our brain halfway out? That has been a mistake throughout. On the other hand, the actual position is that all our religious disciplines are meant to accelerate our evolution. It is for this purpose that they were relieved to the prophets. In addition to the disciplines, we have also to follow a certain model in our life. And this model too has been described by the prophets. There they are all agreed. Humility, charity, self-discipline, frugality, austerity, love of fellow human beings, compassion, faith in God, devotion, and qualities of this kind are repeatedly mentioned everywhere. They are in the Sermon on the Mount, they are in the Ten Commandments, they are in the Quran, they are in the Bhagavad Gita, they are in Dhammapada and all other religious scriptures of the world. So two things are needed for accelerated evolution. One, modeling of the life according to certain ideals as prescribed in religion, and second, meditation or yoga, whatever you choose to call it. Meditation also includes worship and prayer because these two are necessary to keep our heart always in tune with the infinite. A sense of adoration and a prayer inside to grant us the vision. These two combine together to help in our meditation, and then we can achieve success in our effort sooner than we could do if we were to have our meditation in a mechanical manner.
There are many teachers who use mantras as a way of achieving a vision of God. Are mantras useful?
Well, this question is often asked of me, but perhaps a little rational examination would clear the confusion. Mantras means combination of certain words or sounds, and they are prescribed to be repeated by the disciple or by an aspirant a certain number of times. There are hundreds and thousands of mantras in India. Some mantras have meaning. For instance, Shiva, I am Shiva, Gayatri mantra, and some mantras have no meaning. They are only a combination of sounds. Sound has an effect, a vibratory effect on many things. Sometimes soldiers crossing a bridge by their rhythmic movement make the bridge tremble, and sometimes avalanches come down from the mountains with certain sounds. But in the case of reaching God, I do not see the rationality in believing that mantra can lead us to him. For instance, can you tell me of an instance where a child grew up into an adult overnight by means of a mantra? Can you give me an instant where a war was won by a mantra? Any instance where a man passed his PhD with a mantra without reading anything? It is just an idea, not a correct idea in the mind of the people, in the minds of the people. I will explain this a bit. There are two kinds of people who meditate, roughly speaking. One are those who have a very powerful imagination and can visualize. For them it is very easy to sit in meditation and visualize divinity as a light or as consciousness or as God or as anything. But there are also people whose power of visualization is very poor. They admit it to me also. For them sounds are better. They can concentrate better on sounds. And if the mantra has a meaning, such as I am Shiva, or that, O Son of Consciousness, grant me the vision, mantras of this kind. That means the concentration is now done on the sound and on the meaning of the mantra. Or in other words, that person has something to concentrate on. But the actual thing needed is concentration and meditation, not only the repetition of the mantra. So we can meditate even without a mantra or with a mantra according to the constitution of different people. But a disciplined life, a moderate existence, avoidance of immoderation and excess, temperance, truth, honesty, compassion, submission to the divine will, surrender, they all are absolutely necessary for any success in the spiritual effort. No amount of mantras can help us if our life is not in accordance with the law.
Sometimes it's written about yoga that miraculous gifts and psychic powers are to be gained after its practice over a period of years. Is there truth in that? And if there is any truth, what would be the purpose of those powers?
There is a great deal of misconception here also. Now let us say what powers, first of all. The Yoga Sutra of Patanjali refers to siddhis, means miraculous powers, and they are said to be of 8 kinds. To make oneself invisible, to make oneself very light and fly in the air, to make oneself very heavy, to know the thoughts of others, to be able to know the diseases, and so on. Now the point is this: suppose a man spends all his life to gain the power of making his body light in order to fly. How does it help his soul? And during these times, he pays a few dollars and can have a flight wherever he likes. Why should he spend all his life in learning to fly? Buddha also condemned miraculous powers very strongly in his discourses. Almost all the prophets do. It is a waste of energy to do the same thing with spiritual powers that one can do with his intellect. We can cure diseases, we can find remedies for them. We can fly in the air, we can float on the water, we can dive into the sea, we can hear things from London, we can see the sceneries and the towns and everything by our television. Why should now all our life be spent in gaining these powers when we have them already at our disposal? Some people have the idea that they can become invisible, go from one place to the other and do whatever they like. But if they had the patience to study the question in depth, they would find that there is no historical record of any such person. If in this age there were one person with the power to make himself invisible and to fly from one place to another, this one single man could make a nation the sovereign of the earth. He could go every night into the room of a dictator or a prime minister or a scientist or a manufacturer and make them do what he liked, maybe with a revolver in his hand. Such one man would be equal to all the armies you have. You cannot resist him. But we see that so many massacres happened, and there is such a dread of nuclear weapons now, and mankind lives in constant terror of a holocaust. But there is no one who undertakes to eliminate this threat. So this is more or less a myth. On the one side, nature has created a causal world where she has given you the intellect to live by, to find your whereabouts, to discover the laws and forces of nature and to use them for your own benefit. Then all of a sudden, she gives you another power by which all this is nullified. That is not in consonance with the law-bound nature of the creation. So there is a misunderstanding. Meditation and the awakening of the spiritual center do bestow certain intellectual gifts and also psychic powers like clairvoyance, clairaudience, or prediction. But man is not the master of them. These powers are granted to him to the extent to which it is decreed, not a bit more. Man who has reached spiritual heights is no longer a normal individual with an ego or I. He is a vehicle of the divine.
In your own terms, is there an explanation for genius or for child prodigies, for example?
You see, as I am saying, there is a dormant center in the brain, which one fully awakened or active gives rise to illumination, makes one a prophet, a seer, an illuminated sage. But which one only partially active makes one a genius. And also, if active in another way makes one a psychic. But if active in a morbid way creates mental disorders. This is the biological explanation for all these four categories of mental phenomena: illumination, genius, psychic gifts, and insanity. The basic cause is the same: activation of a dormant center in the brain and the formation of a new psychic energy in the body. These two combine in the phenomenon of illumination, also in genius, in psychic gifts and in insight. We are proposing investigation of this phenomena, and already we have established 4 research centers for them, 3 in India and 1 in Canada. We are also contemplating to have centers in the States as also in England. There is also one center in West Germany.
Is there any reason to assume that mankind's evolution has stopped, or is there any evidence for a belief that the human brain is still undergoing a process of evolution?
How can we hold the belief that human evolution has stopped when we see new knowledge being gathered, new inventions being made, new discoveries being effected in every decade? On the other hand, the evolution has become much more rapid. It is so rapid now that it has become essential to prove it and to adjust whole humanity according to it. And this evolution is designed to activate this dormant center. In other words, evolution is carrying mankind towards a sublime state of consciousness. The same state which all the great prophets had in their visions. They are the forerunners of the man to come. The future species on the earth which will be born of us will not be the same as we are. They will have one added faculty in their brain, the faculty to know the invisible reality behind the universe and to come in contact with other layers of creation which are denied to us. So this evolution is proceeding every day. As you might have seen during the last 2 or 3 decades, there has been a great revival of religion, revival of interest in religion. People have taken to drugs. People are meditating in millions. People are attending church. Although the attitude of science has been skeptical and discouraging. But in spite of this, people are going more for religion now than they were going 50 years or 60 years before. The reason for this lies in the fact that it is the demand of evolution. It has created a great urge in the human heart to know itself. And therefore, every possible effort is being made to have experience of transcendence or higher consciousness. This is the reason why so many books are being written on the subject and why even so many scientists are engaged on research of consciousness itself.
So do you think that the process of evolution is being speeded up in the last few years? That evolution is accelerating in some way?
Yes, there is a rapid acceleration of evolution during these days. Science has provided all the facilities by which man can live a more leisurely and a more meditative life. Mankind in almost all parts of the world, I mean to say in those who have enough to eat and a shelter, they are constantly occupied with some sort of a mental discipline. They are reading, writing, seeing the television, hearing the radio, attending to work in their offices, which keeps their mind constantly occupied. That is evolution. The more you keep your mind concentrated the more you stimulate your brain to evolve. In fact, it is concentration, as I have already said, that has given us all knowledge. It is concentration that will give us higher consciousness also. And since our concentration has become greater, it means the speed of evolution has also increased.